Chapter 3. Defining Your Satisfied. The Value Check. The question nobody's asking you. Let me tell you about Jake. Jake was a sophomore economics major when he showed up at my office looking like he hadn't slept in days, which, it turned out, he hadn't. "I'm doing everything right," he said. "I have a 3.9 GPA, I got the consulting internship everyone wanted, I'm on track for everything I'm supposed to want, so why do I feel like shit?" I asked him a question nobody had asked him before. "What do you actually value?" He stared at me. "What do you mean?" "I mean, forget what you're supposed to want. Forget what looks good on LinkedIn. If you could design your life around what actually matters to you, what would that look like?" He sat there for a full minute, and then he said something that broke my heart. "I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me that." Jake is not alone. Most of you have never been asked what you actually value. You've been told what you should value. You've been handed a script and expected to perform it. And that's why you're exhausted. Happiness versus satisfaction, the critical difference. Before we go any further, we need to clear up a confusion that's probably been sabotaging you for years. In the rush of college life, the words happiness and satisfaction get used interchangeably. But for your mental well-being, the difference is vital. Understanding this distinction will change how you make every decision. Happiness, the high peak. Happiness is a feeling, an emotion, a mood state. It's fleeting, often tied to external circumstances, and tends to spike when you get a reward, an A on an exam, a social media like, a compliment from someone you admire, a package arriving, a good hair day. It's that temporary mood lift, the dopamine hit, the everything is awesome feeling that lasts for a few hours or days before fading back to baseline. Happiness feels amazing, but it's like weather. It comes and goes, and you can't control it as much as you think you can. Satisfaction, the enduring mountain range. Satisfaction is fundamentally different. It's not a feeling, it's a judgment, an assessment, a deep, lasting sense that your life is meaningful, that you are living authentically, and that your efforts are aligned with what matters most to you. It's the bedrock beneath the mood swings. You can be satisfied with your life even on days when you're not particularly happy. You can have a terrible day, fail an exam, get in a fight with your roommate, spill coffee on your laptop, and still feel fundamentally okay because you know you're living according to your values. Conversely, you can be momentarily happy, laughing at a party, enjoying a good meal, getting a compliment, while feeling deeply unsatisfied with the direction of your life. Think of happiness as the peaks and valleys you experience daily. Satisfaction is the altitude of the entire mountain range. Why this distinction matters. The hedonic treadmill we talked about in the last chapter keeps you chasing happiness, the peaks, the temporary highs, the fleeting rewards. This book teaches you to build satisfaction, the bedrock. Your intentional actions, that crucial 40% we identified, must be aimed at this bedrock, not at collecting more happy moments, but at constructing a life that feels fundamentally right, even when individual moments aren't perfect. This is the shift that changes everything. The misguided ladder problem. Let me tell you what happened to Jake after that conversation. We started digging into what he actually valued versus what he was pursuing, and what we discovered was devastating. Jake's parents were both consultants, successful ones, and from the time he was in middle school, the path was set. Economics degree, consulting internship, analyst position at a top firm, MBA, partner track. He never questioned it. Why would he? It was the right path. It was what successful people did. But here's what Jake actually valued deep down: creativity, autonomy, and making things with his hands. He loved building things. He spent his free time woodworking and designing furniture. That was when he felt most alive. But he convinced himself that was just a hobby. Real success meant consulting. Jake was climbing a ladder, diligently, expertly, exhaustingly, only to realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. The wrong wall. This is one of the most common tragedies I see on college campuses. Students climbing ladders that were handed to them by their parents, their high school counselors, or the pervasive cultural narrative of success. Ladders built from other people's values, other people's definitions of what matters. You get to the top, exhausted and depleted, and realize, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't who I am. I just did what I was told. And by then, you've invested years, thousands of dollars, your entire identity. The sunk cost is enormous, so you keep climbing, telling yourself it'll get better, that you'll learn to love it, that you're just being ungrateful. But that nagging discontent never goes away, because you're living someone else's life. How do you avoid this? How do you find the right wall? You consult your core values. What core values actually are? Your core values are the fundamental principles and beliefs that dictate your behavior and decision-making when you're at your best. They are the qualities you admire most in yourself and others, the principles you won't compromise on, even when it's hard, the deep source of your meaning and purpose, the measuring stick for whether your life feels right. When your daily actions, your major, your choice of friends, how you spend Friday night, what internship you pursue, are in sync with your core values, you feel aligned, purposeful, authentic. When your daily actions are out of sync with your core values, you feel that nagging, underlying discontent, that sense that something's off, even when everything looks fine from the outside. That feeling, that's the true lack of satisfaction. That's your internal alarm system telling you this isn't aligned, this isn't you. Why most people don't know their values. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most college students have never actually identified their core values. You know what you're supposed to value: success, achievement, career advancement, financial security, all the external markers society celebrates. But what do you actually value? Not your parents, not your peer group, you. Most of you have never been given permission to ask that question, or the time and space to answer it honestly. Your entire life has been about meeting external standards, passing tests, meeting requirements, checking boxes, impressing admissions committees and scholarship boards and future employers. Nobody stopped to ask, but what do you actually care about? That changes now. Finding your true north, the value check. To build a satisfied life, you must identify your personal, non-negotiable values. This is your personal GPS system for the 40%, your intentional activity. This is what guides every choice you make, every priority you set, every opportunity you say yes or no to. Without this GPS, you're navigating blind, following whoever's loudest or most convincing, drifting wherever the current takes you. With this GPS, you have clarity, direction, the ability to make hard choices without agonizing for weeks, the confidence to say no to opportunities that don't align with who you are. Let's build your GPS. The values test. Identify, define, prioritize. Here's the reality. You can't prioritize 50 things. You can't live according to every value that sounds nice. We are looking for your top 5 non-negotiable values, the compass points that define who you are at your best, the values you would fight for, the values you would sacrifice for, the values that, when honored, make you feel like yourself. This is a 3-step process, and I need you to actually do it, not just read about it. Step 1. The initial list. Identify. Below is a list of common values. Your job is to review it and circle every word that deeply resonates with you, that makes something click inside, that feels true and important. Don't overthink it. Don't try to pick what sounds impressive. Just go with your gut feeling about what truly matters. Freedom, connection, growth, security, service, creativity, health, adventure, balance, authenticity, generosity, achievement, discipline, fun, respect, impact, learning, peace, kindness, family, competence, excellence, challenge, integrity, loyalty, independence, compassion, innovation, stability, courage, community, recognition, wisdom, justice, beauty. If your defining values aren't on this list, write them down. This isn't exhaustive. It's a starting point. You should end up with somewhere between 5 and 15 values circled. If you circled more than that, you're not being selective enough. If you circled fewer than that, you might be holding back. Step 2. The defining moment. Define. This is the crucial step that most people skip, and it's why most value exercises fail. Here's the thing. Success means something completely different to you than it does to your roommate. Connection might mean deep intimacy to one person and large social networks to another. Freedom could mean financial independence or creative expression or something else entirely. Abstract values are useless. Personalized definitions are powerful. For the 5 to 10 values you circled, you must define them in your own words. What does this value actually mean to you? What does it look like in your daily life? Let me show you what this looks like. Example 1. Success. My definition as a student. Graduating with a job offer that allows me financial freedom and continuous learning. Feeling like I'm improving at something every month. Being respected by people whose opinions I value. Example 2. Connection. My definition as a student. Having 3 or 4 close friends I can be completely vulnerable with, rather than a large, superficial network. People who know the real me, not the performative version. Relationships where I can show up messy and be accepted. Example 3. Health. My definition as a student. Having enough energy to do what I want. Sleeping 7+ hours most nights. Moving my body in ways that feel good, not punishing. Eating food that nourishes me without obsessing over it. See the difference? These aren't vague aspirations. They're specific, personal, actionable. Now do this for your circled values. Take your time. This is important. Step 3. The hard choice. Prioritize. Now comes the ruthless part. From your defined list, you need to narrow it down to your top 5 core values. Not top 10, not top 7, 5. Why? Because if everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. You need a short enough list that you can actually consult it when making decisions. 5 values you can hold in your head and measure your life against. This step requires brutal honesty. If you have 2 values that seem equal, ask yourself, if I could only honor one of these for the next year, which would be more vital to my sense of self? Which one, if violated, would make me feel like I've betrayed who I am? That's your priority. Here's a template. Fill it out. Really do it. Jake's values and what he did with them. Remember Jake, the economics major who felt like shit despite doing everything right? Here's what his top 5 values turned out to be. Creativity. Making things with my hands, seeing tangible results of my work. Autonomy, having control over my time and decisions, not being micromanaged. Impact, knowing my work directly helps or improves things for real people. Growth, learning new skills, getting better at what I do. Balance, having time for relationships and hobbies, work not consuming everything. When he looked at this list and then looked at his life, economics major, consulting track, 80-hour week future, the misalignment was glaring. Consulting violated almost every one of his core values. No creativity, no autonomy, questionable impact, long hours that destroyed balance. But his parents' values? Achievement, security, status, prestige, financial success. Those are perfectly valid values. They're just not his values. Jake made a hard choice. He switched majors to industrial design. His parents were devastated. His friends thought he was crazy. He lost a year of credits. But 3 years later, Jake is working at a small design firm making furniture, and he's never been more satisfied. Is every day perfect? No. Is he as financially secure as he would have been in consulting? Not yet. But he wakes up feeling like himself, and that's worth more than the salary he gave up. The power of alignment. Your top 5 values are now your blueprint, your compass, your decision-making framework. A satisfied life is simply a life where your daily actions align with these values. Not perfectly, not all the time, but directionally, consistently, more often than not. When you feel that nagging discontent, that sense that something's off, even though everything looks fine, it's almost always a sign of a value violation, a misalignment between how you're living and what you actually care about. Let me show you how this plays out. Scenario 1. Connection as a top 5 value. If connection is one of your core values, defined as having deep, authentic relationships where you can be vulnerable, yet you spend every weekend alone studying out of fear of getting a B, you will feel unsatisfied. Not because there's anything wrong with studying, not because you're being irrational, but because you're violating your core value. The solution isn't to stop studying, it's to realign. Maybe you study with close friends. Maybe you schedule non-negotiable friend time twice a week. Maybe you're more efficient during the week, so weekends are free. The point is, once you know connection is a core value, the chronic isolation stops being a sacrifice you just accept. It becomes a problem you actively solve. Scenario 2. Health as a top 5 value. If health is one of your core values, defined as having energy, sleeping well, and nourishing your body, yet you consistently pull all-nighters, survive on energy drinks and dining hall pizza, and haven't exercised in months, you will feel depleted and conflicted. Even if your grades are great, even if you're getting opportunities, your body and mind are sending you signals. This isn't sustainable. This violates what matters to you. Again, the solution isn't to abandon your academic goals, it's to redesign your approach. Better time management so all-nighters aren't necessary, meal prepping or choosing better options, movement built into your week as non-negotiable as class. When health is a clear value, self-care stops being selfish or optional. It becomes essential to who you are. Scenario 3. Creativity as a top 5 value. If creativity is one of your core values, defined as making things, expressing yourself, engaging in original thinking, yet you're in a major that's entirely about memorization and following formulas with no room for creative expression, you will feel stifled and dead inside. This is a harder misalignment to fix. Maybe you add a minor. Maybe you pursue creative projects outside of class. Maybe, like Jake, you make the hard choice to change paths entirely. But at least now you know why you're unhappy. It's not that you're weak or ungrateful. It's that you're living out of alignment. What comes next? The next parts of this book will give you the tools, the 40%, your intentional activity, to make these daily choices aligned with your values. We'll talk about managing the anxiety and self-criticism that makes alignment difficult. We'll talk about building relationships that honor your values. We'll talk about finding flow and meaning. We'll talk about creating sustainable habits. But none of that works if you don't know your values first. You can't build a satisfied life if you don't know what satisfaction means to you. You can't make aligned choices if you don't know what you're aligning with. You can't step off the treadmill if you don't know where you're actually trying to go. The assignment you can't skip. So here's what I need you to do before you turn another page. Actually do the values test. Not later, not when you have more time, now. Circle the values that resonate. Define them in your own words. Rank your top 5. This isn't homework for a grade. This is the foundation of everything that follows. Skip this, and the rest of the book will be interesting theory that doesn't change your life. Do this, and you'll have a compass that guides you through every difficult decision you face in college and beyond. You'll know why you feel off when you feel off. You'll know what to say yes to and what to say no to. You'll know when you're on the right path and when you're climbing the wrong ladder. That clarity is worth more than any grade, any internship, any achievement on your resume. One last story. I want to end with this. A year after Jake switched majors, he came back to my office. Not because he was struggling, but because he wanted to share something. "You know what's weird?" he said. "I'm working harder now than I ever did in economics. I'm staying up late working on projects. I'm stressed about deadlines. I'm pushing myself. But it feels completely different. It doesn't feel like suffering. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like me." That's alignment. That's what we're building toward. A life where the effort doesn't deplete you because it's directed towards something that actually matters to you. Where the stress is manageable because you know why you're doing it. Where the challenges feel meaningful instead of empty. That life starts with knowing your values. So do the work. Find your compass. And then we'll teach you how to navigate with it. But first, you must learn to master the mind that sabotages this alignment, the voice that tells you your values don't matter, that you should just do what's expected, that wanting something different is selfish or naive. That voice is loud, and in the next chapter, we're going to learn how to quiet it. But not yet. First, your values. Write them down. Make them real. Everything else builds from here. Discover more about this book, watch exclusive content on our YouTube channel, and check out the book on Amazon KDP.